Hi, I'm Rob Vanstone, and welcome to our latest in a series of Roughriders related historical videos. And today is an offering which I call OJ and Other Forms of Infamy. For whatever reason, I found it intriguing that there's several ties between OJ Simpson and the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Some of them were kind of direct, and some of them are tangential and maybe a bit iffy, but I'm just that way. So I'm going to take you through OJ and infamy and throw a little 13th man in there too. If you can tolerate it. Rough Rider fans may remember a defensive back named Bobby Hosea. He played with the team from 1980 to 1982. He joined the team during the 1980 season, was released after the 1982 preseason, so he wasn't here for long. However, he went on to a very successful acting career, and in fact, in 1995, he played the role of O.J. Simpson in a movie known as The O.J. Simpson Story.
I can't be afraid of you anymore. Do you understand that?
Hey, hold on. All right. So we had a few temporary setbacks, okay? But every marriage goes through.
This isn't a marriage anymore, OJ. It's over.
I'm giving you another chance.
No! Have you ever heard that word in your entire life before, OJ?
So there's one connection between the Rough Riders and O.J. Simpson, courtesy of Bobby Hosea. Another one would be Al Cowlings. Now you'll likely remember Al Cowlings as the driver of the white Bronco in the 1994 Los Angeles freeway chase. O.J. Simpson was in the back of the white Bronco. It turns out that OJ was accused of murdering Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. Al Cowlings, known to OJ as AC, was the driver. Al Cowlings played at Taylor Field on October 8, 1978 for the Montreal Alouettes. The game ended in a 35-35 tie. Al Cowlings wore number 65, played left defensive end, didn't do much of note in that game, or in the CFL for that matter. He only played 4 games with Montreal. He had a 22-yard fumble return for a touchdown, but that was it as far as Al Cowlings' CFL career. What stands out about that Rough Rider game against Montreal, though, was the fact that Saskatchewan was called for too many men on the field after Montreal had failed on a field goal attempt late in the fourth quarter, giving the Alouettes another chance. If that sounds familiar, you probably remember the 2009 Grey Cup. I won't go into the gory details as a courtesy, but flashing back to 1978, the Rough Riders had tied the game at 35 late in the fourth quarter. Bob McCready had missed a 51-yard field goal attempt, but the returner, Randy Rhino, was trapped in the end zone. Riders ended up getting a single, game tied, 35-35, 22 seconds left. Jerry DiTilio, quarterbacking the Alouettes, moves them into field goal range down to the Rough Rider 44-yard line. Don Sweet comes in, attempts a 51-yard field goal, and is short. So it looks like the Riders have escaped at least with a tie. However, Riders are flagged for too many men on the field. As was the case in 2009, the ball is moved up 10 yards. Don Sweet is now trying a 41-yard field goal instead of a 51-yard field goal. The kick, however, turns out to be wide. Brian O'Hara returns the ball out of the end zone. The day is saved. The Riders at least get 1 point against the Montreal Alouettes. So that's the first real noteworthy 13th man gaffe in Rough Rider history, and it just so happened to be on the same day that Al Cowlings played for the Montreal Alouettes at Taylor Field. There's some other connections that aren't as close, but somewhat of note. In 1976, the Rough Riders had a running back named Pete Van Valkenburg. He was known as the Flying Dutchman, tremendous player in college at Brigham Young University. He ended up being cut by the Rough Riders toward the end of the 1976 season. He's remembered for one 3-touchdown game he had against the Calgary Stampeders. He scored on a couple of receptions, Ron Lancaster being the quarterback at the time, and also scored on a 90-yard touchdown run around the left end at McMahon Stadium. So that was Pete Van Valkenburg's greatest moment as a Rough Rider, but he actually began his professional career in 1973 as a member of the Buffalo Bills. And that was the season, of course, in which O.J. Simpson became the first running back in the history of professional football to gain more than 2,000 yards on the ground. In fact, he gained 2,003. O.J. Simpson, of course, was the focus of the Buffalo Bills' ground attack, but Pete Van Valkenburg was a backup running back in Buffalo that season, and in fact, carried the ball twice for 20 yards, also had 1 reception for 7 yards. So there's a bit of an O.J. Simpson connection. In 1976, when Pete Van Valkenburg joined the Rough Riders, O.J. was still a big star with the Buffalo Bills, and I remember it being a big story that O.J.'s former backup was now a member of the Rough Riders starting offensive backfield. Let's go back to O.J.'s final season as an NFL player. From 1969 through 1977, he played for the Buffalo Bills. He played out the string with the San Francisco 49ers in 1978 and 1979. And in 1979, there were some little Rider ties that seemed to come to light. For example, one of the 49ers tight ends that season was Bob Brewer. In 1977, Bob Brewer had played for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, also played for the team in 1978. Never really did anything exceptional, but he was a tight end with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Ended up joining the San Francisco 49ers in 1979, and in fact, it was Bob Brewer who caught the first touchdown pass in Joe Montana's professional career. So Bob Brewer, formerly of the Roughriders, and O.J. Simpson were teammates with the San Francisco 49ers in 1979. So that's this little chapter that I like to call O.J. and Infamy. Thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for bearing with that admittedly tangential subject matter. That's just me. I thrive on little factoids such as this. If you'd like to subscribe to our YouTube channel, we'd be delighted if you would. There's also a little bell insignia. If you click on that, you'll receive notifications when more Rider videos are produced and circulated. Thanks so much for being with us, and have a great day.